Well, do you usually drink before our recordings?
Not usually, but the LCO's been doing it, so I thought, why not give it a go?
There's no way the LCO drink before they broadcast.
What do you mean? How else do you think Carbon got on there? Hey everyone, welcome to episode 17 of the Matchfix. I'm Shock, the superintendent of Super Weeks, the band for boosting bandit, and I'm joined by the gentle boy and bundle of joy, Amel.
What the fuck?
This was the first LCO Super Week of Split 2, and there were a lot of really good games this week, so if we broke them down like normal, you guys would be here forever. A Super Week demands a super speed run. Amel, tell me what the rules are.
When we give the mark, Ricky over there is going to start a timer for 1 minute, and one of us will have that long to try and explain and break down the entire game, basically. And if you go over, then there's no real penalty, but you're a bit cringe.
You feel bad.
Yeah, it'll feel terrible.
Amel, take it away with day one, game 2, Kanga vs. Peace.
Okay, it started. Okay. This was a pretty slow game. 4 kills in like the first 20 minutes, but in that time, Kanga managed to secure themselves the first 3 dragons, despite having a late game oriented scaling comp, which is really weird. I don't know how that happens. PGG. Peace had like a lot of like good early game strong champions like Zinjao, like Silas, people who like skirmishers, and they had the Zeri and Nautilus bot lane. So there's really no excuse for why they lose those first 3 dragons. And when Kanga reached that point, like where they have the Renata, when they reach late game, it's just gonna be so hard to kill people, right? And yeah, it's honestly just a little bit criminal that they got away with that. 24 minutes. This was sort of a big turning point. Peace find a huge pick on Fido, but then they try to do the Baron, and they lose a 5v4 somehow. TNC finds a massive 4-man Renata ult, pretty much wins the fight by himself, and quadra kill from Foreigner's Viego. I have 10 seconds left. And that champion's not balanced. And they got free Dragon Soul from that. Fast forward to 26 minutes, lived in Fido, find Cheon and chunk him down, win the fight, get the Baron, and at that point, the gold leader's gone, Dragon Soul's gone, outscaled, game over, GG.
Damn. That was pretty good, right? You're
I
a bit
went
over
over
time,
a minute,
I think. But I think that was pretty good. I agree with a lot of what you said. So
a lot of it, right?
Yeah, I think I like the way Kanga drafts. I like the late game kind of, consistent comps they go for. And it seems like they've really found their identity, right? Like they seem to be popping off now.
Yeah.
They're a team that win a lot. And yeah, I also think it's kind of a good response into Peace because Peace always seem to win early game, but then stumble and can't really close it out. So I think having that guaranteed scaling, just weather the storm early, I think it does pretty well in the Peace.
Well, next up we got day 2, game 1, Mammoth versus Peace. I don't even know what happened in this game.
Well, you're about to find out. Ricky, mate, start the clock. All right, so starting from draft, things getting a little weird. 5th pick, Braum, red side last pick. Very valuable pick, as you know, into a bunch of champs that Braum does nothing into. Did not make me very happy, but Peace early game went pretty well. They were really ahead, but then they had kind of a little fumble. 21 minutes and 22 minutes. 21 minutes, the Azir insects 2 people that don't matter at all. 22 minutes, Ezreal does not flash the center route and, well, he dies. So they gave a lot back to Mammoth, but it's going pretty well. They get the Baron. They knock down 2 inhibs. The game's looking great. Then 29-30, they make the worst engage of all time. The bot wave is coming in and they just don't give a fuck. They just go and dive. They all die. They have this weird overchase after. And eventually they just give so much to Mammoth that Mammoth's scaling comp just comes back. And you got to feel bad for Peace. At the same time, well, yeah, Peace played pretty well all game. Mammoth played better when it mattered, and that's all she wrote.
Wow, you actually got it under a minute.
Damn!
That was crazy. What?
One little post-game analysis.
Okay, we still have 10 seconds. So
okay, one little post-game analysis. The Azir build was triggering me. Let's talk about that afterwards.
Well, this is afterwards.
Okay, is this afterwards?
Go ahead.
So just want to explain this a little bit. So I think that, this is a trend I see in pro play a lot where people buy defensive items when they could buy damage items and play better. I think a lot of the times I see defensive items built as sort of a crux. And I think this game, the Azir, he is he's a long range champ, right? And he's itemized pretty defensively, a lot of HP, not a lot of big ticket items like Rabadons and stuff like that, which is okay. But then I think the way he kind of played it was he kind of wanted to go for these Shurima shuffles, but if you want to go for that, you need a flat AP build. You need Luden, Shadowflame, Rabadon, that sort of stuff. Or if you just want to be a CC, just pick Lissandra. So I didn't really like the Azir build, at least not in the way he was playing it.
It seems like maybe it might be a habit from solo queue. I don't know.
Well, I think it's partly because some pro players do it. I saw Xiaohu building Zhonya's and Banshees on Ahri, and that's just
that's pretty.
I swear that's so criminal. The champ is so safe, which allows you to build damage.
Yeah, obviously huge win for Mammoth and Peace. pretty crippling loss for day 2 of that week. The Allen Papton kind of smurfing on the Kale.
Yeah.
I think he might be the chosen one who like actually takes down the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that would be a good storyline.
That was, I swear, like he was actually getting railed all game, and then he just started like one-shotting everyone. Just Kale things, I guess.
Kale, yeah.
Day 2, game 4, Kangaroo Direwolves.
I'm ready. Okay, Kanga drafting pretty similar comp to like their day 1 game. They got like a sort of team fight oriented comp, very, very scaly, very just, clear, defined roles for everyone. Whereas Direwolves, they got Suman on Ori and Bulldog on Lulu. Mage and Enchanter, we'll talk more about that later. It's a little bit weird, but Direwolves got off to a pretty good start, bottom top, getting solo kills, and the Direwolves like red side last pick Ori against Cass, which should be a winning lane, wasn't doing too well. But overall, early game was okay for Direwolves. But despite their bot lane lead, they get solo killed later on. Kanga picking up the first 3 dragons again. How do they keep getting away with this? Nobody knows. So Direwolves down in dragons, down in gold for most of the game. All the eggs in the Dante basket. Can Dante actually do anything? Not really. I mean, it takes too long and it's too hard for him to ramp up against and fights against like Kanga's tanky, bulky comp without getting punished for it. And overall, like Seaman on Mage, Bulldog on Enchanter doesn't really fit Direwolves comp. They kind of feel like a team that needs to get stuck in with the boys rather than this sort of slow macro play and then slowly losing the game.
What was the time?
It was under a minute. It was just under a minute.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the point about Direwolves, like Mage Enchanter thing, I think that's actually pretty important. Like they always, I don't know, they look really good when they're just like skirmishing and fighting, right? But yeah, I don't know. It just seems a bit, they're not on the level of some of the other teams when it comes to macro. And that kind of makes sense. They've got a lot of players that haven't, historically been like on stronger teams. So I could definitely see macro being a weaker thing. But I don't think, people would doubt their mechanics really. So yeah, I'd like to see them get stuck in with the boys, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like all right for them to like maybe test out some stuff given that they're in an okay position on the ladder. But like obviously like every game counts. And this week was like ideally meant to be a 3-0 week for them, right? So that loss against Kanga, who are slowly climbing up the ranks, is definitely gonna sting later on.
Yeah, I think Kanga actually, they had a 3-0 week, right?
Yes.
And also from that game, I think Fido blinding Cassio and then still winning the Ori matchup, that was very Chad, very alpha. And I think how do you say his name? Tiengsu? Something?
Tiengsi.
I don't know how you meant to say it. Sorry,
That's
man.
racist.
But I think he actually played real well in the Cho'Gath. I think he's giving Tally a run for his money. He's the best Cho'Gath OCE. So I always like it when supports can play other champs.
All right, next up, day 3, game 1, we've got Chiefs versus PGG. Pretty important match, especially like for PGG. I think Chiefs have also like said in interviews and stuff that they rate PGG as like top 2.
I still think Pinter, despite like losing today to Order and just doing pretty poorly, I think they're still like the second best team. Once Balkan actually starts playing well on stage, like they'll look like the best, like one of the best teams again after us. So
this was the chance for PGG to prove themselves, but anyway.
All right, let's get to work. So I like the draft from PGG. I think the Silas into Swain is just the greatest pick I've ever seen. I really love this, and it's super annoying to play against. So I think really good drafting by PGG, but no matter how many advantages you give PGG, they always find a way to lose in the end. So I think PGG just as a whole, they have like way too many unforced errors. They get caught, they make team fight mistakes. I don't really have any like particular timestamps. It just seems to happen like over and over throughout the game. And I think also, like, they just really need to get Yuri some teammates. Like, at this point, Yuri just kind of has to play by himself. He actually plays well pretty much every game.
That's true.
But he just, like, doesn't really have anyone on his team. And so he's doing, like, 50,000 damage as a melee champ, but still losing the game, which is disgusting. And then another thing that annoyed me is that Tally got the MVP, which kind of feels like a middle finger to Yuri because he played so well. And then at the end of the game, it was like, Balkan, he's like 1-8. He's got the ciggy in his mouth. Damn man walking straight off the cam, just straight out of the room. Just, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
That was a lot. You got some good one-liners in there.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
Well, it kind of feels like PGG are like everything wrong all at once. they just like, I don't know. They just do so much dumb shit. If people consider you a top 2 team, you shouldn't be doing that stuff, right? Like, for example, Chiefs, they look squeaky clean in pretty much every game. PGG is like, I don't know, someone like pissed on the floor or something and they had to mopped up for like years. I don't know. I don't know. It's just you don't really want to look at it.
You're not holding back.
It's weird. They're definitely, I don't know what the word is, unstable.
Yeah.
Like they can be a top 2 team, but
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like similar to Peace, where I just feel like no matter how well things are going for them, they will always stumble at the finish line. You know, I'm always just like waiting for that moment where like everything's looking good. They have a good draft. They're like ahead in gold. Like Silas has the items, but then inevitably something goes wrong. And I feel like the same way about Peace. And I think both teams are pretty good. They're just not quite, clean enough to take wins from Chiefs.
all right, our final leg of our super speedrun. Day 3, game 3, Peace versus Order. And you've been like whining to me about wanting to monologue about this one, so go ahead.
All right, this is it. So as everyone knows, Peace and Order, 2 teams I love equally as much. So when the game goes on, I think that Order's draft, it seems a lot better. I really like their draft. It looks really OP. They've got like all the pieces they need, and they were winning early games. So given that, everything looked really good for them. And then at 22 minutes, they just get like destroyed in a team fight. It was like Olaf is just chasing someone random. He's just chasing someone that doesn't matter, and like the Seraphine ult gets Zonya'd, and like Peace is so far behind, and they managed to win this miracle fight. And just every team fight, one thing that really stood out to me is this 5-kill Olaf is just chasing someone that doesn't matter. Like they have Seraphine Olaf. Surely you can kill this Callista. And if you can't chase Callista, then don't pick Olaf. And if you don't have a better counterpick, just give counterpick to Kise, because that man's the king of counterpicking, plays just about every champ in the game. So I really think for Order, they had this like great comp. They ran into the problem of when you're making the mother of all omelets, they started fretting over every egg, and you just can't do that. You got to keep it simple, keep your team fight fundamentals in mind, just kill that Callista and things would go great.
They were doing pretty well for most of the game, but then like there was that one fight at Dragon. I don't remember when it was, but they just like got fucked.
Yeah.
They got fucked.
I think there was like 2 team fights at Dragon. So that first one I was talking about, it's like, I swear I was like getting deja vu at the next team fight, because the Olaf is just chasing the Shyvana instead of a Callista. And it's like, that guy, he doesn't matter. Like that's so unimportant. And it just seems like, maybe I could understand, like Callista's good at kiting, right? But if you pick Olaf Seraphine and you still can't catch them, which I think they can, but if you can't, then you just can't play this.
Yeah,
like
that's like what it's meant to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to work. So I think just give counterpick to Kise. Like he's really good at counterpicking. He's a really big champ pool. So yeah, I think it'd be better used on him.
Still a bit tired from that super speedrun, but I'm glad we made it through. And now it's time to take a look at some LCO standings. Chiefs still sitting firmly in first place, haven't lost a game yet. Yeah, they're popping off. Direwolves second place, the lone survivor at second place, now sitting at 7-4, but not much of a lead, and it's going to be rough for them going ahead because they just played the 3 bottom teams. So see if they can retain that. What do you think they will?
I think they're going to fall off like a Bozo plus L plus ratio.
All right, there it is. Third place, PGG, Order, Peace, all sitting at 6-5, third place, tied.
Same height as me.
Kanga having a very successful week, 3-0, still sitting in 6th place, but they're very close, only 1 win behind the 3rd place teams, which is honestly really huge for them. And they might be able to break into that sort of top 5 VIP area. Mammoth picking up a win against Peace, but still a bit of a tragic week for them, still 7th place, and Gravitas still there. We're kind of starting to see potentially what might be our playoffs teams, but I don't know, it's still a little bit in the air. I feel like Kanga being 1 win behind those 3rd place teams, like I mentioned, is like a bit of a warning sign for them, right? Because I feel like Peace, PG, Order all like can be a little bit shaky. Even Direwolves, like sitting 1 step ahead, can still fall down as well. I don't know. Any playoffs predictions?
I just want to say something that I think is super crazy. As you said, like 1, that the standings are so close, but 2, that like someone could miss playoffs by just a win. Yeah. Like, can you imagine if, Order just drop a couple games and they go from being the split 1 champion to not making playoffs? Like, God, that would be a dream come true. But anyway, for the playoffs, I think the teams that are I'm pretty certain they're going to make it. Chiefs, obviously, PGG, and I think Order will make it. I know, crazy, right, guys? Crazy. Shock said something nice about Order. Yep, it's a miracle. But okay, I think Order will make it. And then I think Peace will probably make it as well. So it comes down to like Kanga versus Direwolves. I think Kanga look better lately, but like Direwolves over the split obviously have looked quite a bit better. So that'll be interesting to see that match. Yeah, I kind of feel like Kanga have figured out Direwolves a bit in their match this week. So I could see Kanga King Direwolves out of playoffs. But like I said, like everything is so close right now that the second place team is potentially getting kicked out by the sixth place team. Like that looks so weird, right? So yeah.
It feels new. That's kind of interesting, you know, because I feel like last split it was kind of like a defined top 5, right? And this time it's not. I think it's interesting that you say that Peace is like probably going to make it. I feel like they haven't shown stability.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like what, like halfway through the split now almost?
Yeah, but I mean, just like being top 5 doesn't mean you have to be stable. You just have to, you know, win more games than you lose. But I agree with you. I think even if they make playoffs, unlikely that they make a deep run. That being said, whenever you bet against Peace in playoffs, they always just go and win the whole thing. So, yeah.
It's time once again to take a quick peek at the stock market. Not too much movement in the standings, so the market's looking relatively stable this week, but there's still winners and losers and question marks. So starting off with our winner for the week, it is going to be Kanga, 3-0 week.
Okay.
And yeah, honestly, they look like they kind of know what they're doing for the first time in the split. And, you know, unlucky for Lionel, who seems to be gone in the wind. But this iteration of Kanga seems to be doing pretty well, and they look good.
Yeah, I think they've found an identity that works for them. And it's like an interesting time to find their identity, because it's like, okay, on one hand, if you find it like early now, you're really finding a lot of success with it, you can gather up a lot of wins and get into that playoffs. That being said, you also give quite a lot of time for teams to like practice things against you in scrims, kind of figure out what your weaknesses are. It'll be interesting to see what teams come up against this with, because I think scaling is so strong in the current meta, and I'm not sure there is any team that can blow them up early game enough. Like, I don't think there are many teams that are just strong in early game, and early game itself is not particularly strong at the moment. So I think maybe teams will just try and match this scaling and then play better, or I'm not too sure.
They drafted 3 very similar comps like this week, and if that is the only card they have up their sleeve, then they might be in trouble. Because I don't know, being predictable in draft can definitely hit you pretty hard.
Yeah, and I wonder, speaking of the draft, if there are a couple like linchpins that can be taken away, like the center. I think being able to play like basically whatever you want with center opens up the draft a lot. So maybe like taking out the center, and also like the Swain flex, I think between mid and top is very, very strong. So I think maybe if these were taken away, Kanga could struggle a bit more. So I'm pretty excited actually to see how Kanga do. Like, is there a new identity? Are they the best team in the league, or are they very exploitable and one-dimensional? Let's see.
Yeah, let's see. The investors will be watching as well very closely. Let's move on to our loser for the week. It's going to be our first player loser, unfortunately. And I'm not just calling him out because he cloud checked me on Twitter, but it is going to be Belkan. Belkan from PGG. Had a really rough week. There's not much else to say. Like, it was just not good.
Yeah, there's no real kind way to say that someone's sprinting it. But I think like everyone knows that Balkan, at least in the past, was like really, really good.
Yeah.
Right? If Balkan shows up on stage, like PGG are really a force to be reckoned with, and they certainly were in Split 1, and Balkan was a big part of that. So I think, yeah, it makes it sucks obviously to see a player slumping, especially when it's like, you know, somewhat important that they get some wins now, but much better to slump now than in playoffs. So if he can come back for the late game, I think it'd be good. But yeah, he's just kind of running it down mid at the moment.
Next up is our question mark for the week. And I feel like we mentioned this team a lot in the stock market, but it is going to be Peace as a question mark. Thankfully, they're not the loser this time, but they were very close to being the loser. I think clawing back that win against Order definitely saved their skin. Otherwise, their stock would have plummeted like to 0. I don't know. They seem to just have a week where they do good and then have a week where they just do terrible, and it just keeps switching. So I really don't know like how good they actually are.
Yeah, Peace, they don't make a lot of sense to me. They have just games where individually they play super well. Like Tianon said, Juani had like this crazy game and then they still managed to lose. I think, yeah, also like the jungle champion pool a lot of the time feels a little weird to me. I feel like champs like Lee Sin and Xin Zhao just like don't really get enough with the current meta mids to make it worth it. Like it seems like you really need, you know, if you're thinking about what you normally pair with those, it's stuff like LeBlanc, you know, really aggressive champs, and they just like aren't that strong right now. So I don't know, a lot of the time I'm just not really sure if they're all on the same page. And I think also it is sort of hard to play to their strengths. I think we've brought this up before, but I think especially mid jungle, like they're a team or they're a duo that really wants to like take over the game early, and it's just very difficult to do that at the moment. There just aren't too many options, too many combinations, and comeback mechanics are so strong. I think it makes it difficult, and they're trying to find something else. So they just have, flashes of brilliance sometimes, like their bot lane, their top lane, even their mid jungle, like playing really well. And then in the very same week, sometimes the next day, they just, I don't know, it's the complete opposite. And not to mention, Violet's still not there. So who knows about that situation?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't even know what to say about Peace. I feel like I might be better off flipping a coin when I'm like predicting their games because I don't know. I don't know if I'm missing.
Getting
yeah, exactly. It's like I don't know if I'm missing something like some consistent trend or pattern, or if they just like, how can I know what they're doing if they don't know what they're doing?
Marco doesn't know what they're doing either. As always, it's LCO Moments time, and this week, super week, super moments.
Super momentous.
Somehow, I don't know, security at the LCO studio slipped up because Carbon managed to get onto the broadcast. Old man Carbon must have gone lost on the way to the fucking pub or something, I don't know. Despite being absent from the broadcast this week, Kitty was still catching strays, even from Twitch chat. Mac just did not hold back at all.
Pray that I'll be back soon. Best wishes, a Grandmaster player.
Imagine not being challenger.
Speaking of not holding back, Skimmy this week. He says that again. I think someone's going to have to hold me back.
As always, good to see Chiefs picking up their high five game once again. They got the tick going, you can tell they've actually been practicing it. They slipped a little bit with the Raze Arthur synergy, but overall, pretty good. And we even got the little backwards clap from Alidora. Bit of flair, that's good. I also liked how Tally was, beckoning his little jungler kitten with a few claps just to start it off.
His jungler kitten, did you say? Jesus. Looking at some of the other player cams, I swear, every time I see Praetor's one, it looks like he's been hit by a flashbang.
I feel like he might need to take a page out of TNC's book. He had his shades on. He was ready. He was ready for those flashes.
Balkan, he had a rough game. Cigarette in mouth immediately after.
Only in Oceania does your smoko begin before your Nexus even explodes.
The spirit of Decoy lives on. Next week's predictions. Day 1, Direwolves versus Order. What are you thinking? What are you cooking up over there?
This one's a bit of a toughie. Usually I'm leaning on the side of Order, but Direwolves is above them right now, and Order didn't really impress me last week. So I might have to switch my allegiance to Direwolves for this one.
Wow, roles reversed because I think Order are going to ratio Direwolves on this one. I think it's about time that Direwolves start falling off and Order are going to put them in their place.
Day 2, Kanga versus Order. I'm interested to see what your take is on this one.
I think Order are actually going to win this one as well. I know it's crazy, but I just think Kanga have shown to be like pretty one-dimensional, and I think Order are a team that have pretty good scaling as a whole. Like, I think they're pretty good at scaling. That being said, I think if they don't work out how to deal with because like Kanga have, like we were saying before, have a few various picks I think show up in every draft. If they don't really have a way of dealing with this, and I'd actually be interested to see who gets side selection because I think that could change it a lot. But I think Order will probably take it to them.
Yeah, I think... No, I agree. I'm back on the Order side again. I think that Order, as a team, maybe I'm a bit biased because I've had Ceres as my coach. Love you, Ceres. But I feel like Order's drafts are usually like pretty creative. Like we saw that Olaf whipped out in their games this week, and it didn't work out, but cool to see. And I think that if there's a team that can come up with an answer for Kanga's compositions that they like to play, it'll be Order.
Peace versus PGG. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? What have you got for me?
Yeah, I don't know. I flipped the coin earlier and it came up head, so I'm going to go with PGG on this one. I think Peace, it's like we said earlier, you don't really know what piece you're going to get on the day, so I feel like it's a tough one to predict. But I don't know. PGG, maybe like a little bit less unstable than Peace. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say.
No, there are two teams that are just all over the place at the moment. I think that PGG's main strength has been in mid lane, and I think Appy in the early game is like really, really good. So I think that Appy will have a pretty good time neutralizing this. And I think recently the PGG bot lane and jungle haven't really played that well. And I think like the Peace bot lane is playing quite well. You know, Lisa, sometimes he's playing well, sometimes he's not. So yeah, the real answer is I don't know. I think I would probably slightly favor Peace just based off recency.
Opium.
But I think flipping the coin is more likely to be accurate for this game.
That's it for today's episode. Catch you next time for your weekly fix.